Greetings from love, lies, and deception. Join us as we examine the tales and mysteries of adultery. I never imagined that a little business trip would have such a profound impact on my life. I was sure that my marriage and my love for John were perfect, and that our life together was all I could have ever dreamed of. But everything changed with just one meeting and one kiss. This is the tale of how I, Emma, was forced to make a decision that fundamentally altered my world. Why was I unable to go back to my previous life, and what had transpired in that alien city? You could discover the answers to your own questions if you open my narrative. Emma is my name. My age is 34. John and I have been married for 10 years, and our kid is 7 years old. In Portland, Oregon, we reside in a comfortable home. I oversee sales for a big corporation, and John is the architect. Our lives appeared to be ideal. We enjoyed each other's company, raised our son, and made plans for the future. Our relationship started like many others we met in college, both studying business. Jan was my first real love, and within a year, we were married. In the early years of our marriage, we were inseparable, spending every free minute together, traveling, and sharing all our dreams and fears. But over time, as often happens, routine began to take its toll. Jay immersed himself in his work, striving to build a successful career. I also got deeply involved in my job, trying to secure a stable future for our family. We spent less and less time together, and even our conversations turned more towards everyday matters rather than what truly concerned us. I felt that our marriage was turning into a partnership where emotions and passion gave way to duties and responsibilities. This spring, my company sent me on a week-long business trip to Chicago. It was an important assignment, and I looked forward to the trip, though I was a bit anxious about leaving Jan and our son alone, as always supported me, assuring me that he could handle the household and take care of our. So when I arrived in Chicago, I was met with the hum of the big city. I settled into a cozy hotel in the city center and immediately plunged into work. Even though I was exhausted and lonely, I was nevertheless grateful for the opportunity to escape my everyday life and spend my evenings in my room. One evening, after a long day of meetings and presentations, I savored the sounds of the streets outside my window and reflected on how much my life had changed since I first met John. I made the decision to stroll down the Chicago Riverwalk. The city appeared to be brimming with possibilities and optimism, and the air had a hint of spring. A man came up to me and asked for a cigarette as I was enjoying the city lights from a seat. "I don't smoke," I said with a smile. He introduced himself as Tom and suggested we have coffee at a nearby cafe. We chose a cozy cafe with panoramic windows overlooking the river. Tom ordered us cappuccinos, and we started talking. Turned out he had moved to Chicago a few years ago and now worked as a financial consultant. Our conversation was light and effortlessly. We laughed and shared stories from our lives and even argued a bit about which movie to watch over the weekend. I felt with Tom the way I hadn't felt with Jan in a long time. It was a simple yet very important meeting for me. We exchanged numbers and agreed to meet again. That evening, I returned to the hotel with a light sense of excitement and anticipation. The next evening, we met again. We walked around nighttime. Chicago, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company. I couldn't believe I'd found someone so quickly with whom I felt so easy and comfortable. Tom talked about his job, how he had moved to Chicago a few years ago, and how much he liked the city. I, in turn, share my worries and thoughts about life. As we strolled along the Riverwalk, Tom suddenly stopped and looked into my eyes. His gaze was serious and penetrating, and I felt something stir inside me. He slowly leaned towards me, and I couldn't look away. He said softly, "You know, Emma, I haven't met anyone as interesting as you in a long time," in a gentle yet confident voice. I smiled, feeling my cheeks begin to burn too, and I whispered, unsure if my words would be heard. Tom leaned in closer, and his lips touched mine. It was a brief, almost weightless kiss that stirred a storm of emotions inside me. Time seemed to stop, and I forgot about everything else. Our kiss grew more passionate and deep. I wrapped my arms around his neck, feeling his fingers caress my back. Every touch sent shivers down my spine. When we eventually separated, I didn't want the moment to stop, but I couldn't believe this was actually occurring. I was lightheaded. Tom murmured to me, "I know I will never forget this evening." let alone go to the hotel, and I agreed. He gazed at me tenderly and warmly. As we made our way back to the hotel, my heart began to race, and each stride and glance made it seem more important. I felt his arms encircle me and draw me in as we entered my room, as though we couldn't get enough of one another. Our kisses became more intense and passionate. With shivers of ecstasy, Tom's fingertips moved over my flesh as he carefully removed my coat. I helped him quickly take off his jacket in return. Our bodies were intertwined in a ballet of want and passion as we held each other in our arms. As we collapsed into the bed, we kept kissing and petting one another. Each touch was like a tsunami that engulfed me entirely. It was amazing to feel his hands moving over every inch of my body. It was the most passionate and intense sensation I had ever had, and we made love all night long. I felt like a totally different person when I woke up next to Tom the next morning. I felt no regrets, even though I realized that this event had completely altered my life and that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to go back to my previous way of living. Something that I believed had long ago vanished has been reawakened in me by Tom. My week in Chicago started out this way, filled with enthusiasm, new experiences, and untapped feelings. I was aware that significant changes were ahead of me, and I could not predict where they would take me. Bright sunshine filtered through my hotel room's drapes as the Chicago morning got underway. Tom's hand was on my waist as I lay beside him, and I could feel his breath on my skin. It was a lovely moment, but it was also unsettling. I didn't want to think about it right now, but I knew that when I got back to Portland, I would have to face reality and tell Jen everything. I just wanted to enjoy the moment Tom woke up and smiled at me, his eyes glowing with tenderness. "Good morning," he said, pulling me closer. "Good morning," I replied, feeling my heart starts to beat faster again. We spent the morning together, having breakfast at a cafe near the hotel, discussing our plans for the day. Tom suggested we spend the day together, and I happily agreed. We decided to visit some local attractions and simply enjoy each other's company. Our day was filled with laughter and joy. We visited the Museum of Science and Industry, where we marveled at the exhibits and discussed the most interesting displays. After the museum, we walked through Millennium Park, enjoying the warm spring weather. Tom held my hand, and I felt a deeper connection growing between us during lunch at a small riverside restaurant. We talked about everything under the sun. Tom shared his dreams for the future, told me about his childhood, and how he decided to move to Chicago. I in turn talked about my life in Portland, how I met John, and how much our lives had changed over the years as the day came to an end. We returned to the hotel. I felt surprisingly calm and happy. We went up to my room, and Tom pulled me close again. His kisses were tender, but full of passion. I felt his hands exploring my body, sending waves of pleasure. Through we continued our romantic evening, loving each other with the same passion as the previous night. Every moment with Tom was like a new surge of emotions and desires. I couldn't get enough of his touches and caresses. We spent the entire night together, waving every moment. The next morning, I woke up feeling reality slowly creeping back. I knew that my business trip was coming to an end and that I would have to return home. However, the thought of going back to my old life scared me. I didn't know how to tell John everything that had happened, and I wasn't sure I could return to the same routine. Tom suggested we spend one more day together, and I agreed. We decided to go out of town and spend the day in nature. We rented a car and drove to a small village outside Chicago, where we found a cozy cafe where we had coffee and enjoyed the views. Tom took my hand and said, "Emma, I know this is wrong, but I can't stop thinking about how much I want this moment to last forever." I felt tears well up in my eyes, and Tom nodded, understanding what I was saying, but his eyes showed deep sadness. "I know, but it doesn't change the fact that I want to be with you, even if it's only for a few days." We spent the remaining time together, enjoying every moment of our conversations, becoming more open and personal as we shared our hopes, fears, and dreams. I felt a deeper connection forming between us, and it scared me. On the third day of our meeting, Tom suggested that we go to a local amusement park, which was a great idea, and we gladly immersed ourselves in the fun and excitement. We rode roller coasters, ate cotton candy, and laughed like kids. As the day drew to a close, I couldn't help but smile since Tom had won a stuffed bear for me at shooting range. We went back to my room at the hotel. We gave in to passion once more. It was amazing to feel his hands softly touch my flesh. All through the night, we cherished one another's company. I knew I had to go back home and face reality when I woke up and realized our week in Chicago was almost over. I accepted Tom's offer to drop me off at the airport. Before I had to get on the aircraft, we spent a couple more hours together. "Emma, I will never forget these," Tom murmured, taking my hand as we said our goodbyes. "You have transformed my life in recent days, and I hope to see you again in the future." "I will never forget you either," I said, grinning through my tears. "I'm grateful for everything, Tom." Tears were running down my face as we hugged. Even though I knew I was going back to my former life, John, and my kid, I also knew that these moments spent with Tom would always have a special place in my heart. I was thinking about Tom when I got on the plane. When my plane landed in Portland, I was met with a cold and gray reality, unlike the sunny and vibrant Chicago, my hometown. It seemed bleak and colorless, as if the light and joy I experienced with Tom had been left behind. I felt as though I was in a fog, and Jan was waiting for me at the airport with our son. His face lit up with a smile when he saw me, but I couldn't return his sincerity. We hugged, and I felt him hold me tightly as if he was trying to regain the closeness that had once existed between us. But I knew something inside me had changed forever. I made an effort to seem upbeat and engaged, but my mind kept returning to Tom and our evenings together. Between John and me, I sensed an imperceptible wall expanding. Everything felt the same. Our comfortable home, the familiar objects, the pictures on the walls, and I wasn't sure how to tear everything down at home. Everything brought back memories of our life before Chicago. I made an effort to keep up with everyday tasks, look after our baby, and appear normal. But every time John attempted to talk to me or give me a hug, I felt more and more uneasy and dissatisfied on the inside. Something didn't seem right. His touch didn't arouse the same feelings in me. I made an effort to recall our pleasant times together, but it all felt far away and surreal. A few weeks went by, and one evening while John was working late, I delved further into my thoughts while sitting on the couch and gazing into space. I knew this couldn't continue. I couldn't deny my emotions any longer. I couldn't continue to act as though nothing was wrong. My phone vibrated at that very moment, and it was a message from Tom. "Emma, I will always remember the evenings we spent together. I can't function without you because you have transformed my life. We can live happily together if you move in with me. I'll extend a warm welcome to you and your son." My heart began to race as I read his letter many times. I had to leave all I knew and loved behind in order to pursue the passionate and loving new life that Tom was promising me. I was at a loss for what to do, and it was a tough decision. I made an effort to be normal the following day, but John saw that I was distracted and inquired as to why. I was unable to respond to him. How could I describe the tearing in my heart? After our kid went to bed that night, I thought it was time to speak with John since I felt a conflict between responsibility and desire. I told him what I had told him about meeting Tom and how he had rekindled emotions in me that I had assumed had long since faded while we sat in the living room. I admitted that our relationship had altered irrevocably and that I could no longer live a lie. When I was done, John listened in silence, his expression displaying anguish and bewilderment. "I don't know what to say, Emma," he whispered softly as he glanced at me. "I believed everything would be all right since I love you and our son. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I couldn't stop crying, and I wasn't sure how to tell you that I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't continue to live a lie. I wanted to be honest with you and with myself, and we talked for a long time. We argued and cried, and Jan was disappointed and hurt, but he also understood that our relationship had changed. We decided to take some time to think things out and figure out how we felt. The next few days were agonizing. I tried to picture my life without Jay, but it didn't seem possible, and I couldn't ignore my feelings for Tom. I knew that I had to make a decision that would change my life forever. And one evening after a lengthy talk with Jan, I realized that I couldn't put it off any longer. "I can't forget the nights we spent together either," I wrote to Tom. "I want to be with you, and I love you, but I need time to get ready for the relocation with my kid. I will wait for you, as long as it takes," Tom said hurriedly. Emma, I think we could be happy together, and I love you. I knew the road ahead would not be easy. I had to speak with my kid, let him know what was going on, and get him ready for the transfer. Although I was aware that John would find this difficult to accept, I hoped that he would eventually come to terms with it and forgive me. My life then entered a new phase that was filled with uncertainties and anxieties as well as hope. When I decided to move in with Tom, I was confident that I was making the correct decision and that love and happiness were ahead. I anticipated a lot of difficulties. My first task was to speak with Liam, our son. Although I knew it would be a great shock to him, I also realized that the best course of action was to be honest. I invited Liam to the living room one evening while John was at work. He was playing with his toys and full of enthusiasm, as usual. I took his hand and sat next to him. I started, "Liam, we need to talk." He nodded and raised his large blue eyes to me. I told him, "You know I love you very much, right?" "Of course, Mom." And he squeezed my hand. "You see, sometimes adults have to make difficult decisions. Daddy and I have decided that we need to live separately for a while, but we will still love you and take care of you, but we will be living in different places." Liam looked perplexed, but I pulled him into an embrace and said, "No, sweetheart, you did nothing wrong. Sometimes adults need time to understand their feelings and figure out what's best for themselves, but you will always be our priority." The next day, I informed Jay about my chat with Liam and Tom's proposal that Liam and I move in together. Jayan was upset, but his anger had started to give way to understanding. He nodded and said, "I understand, Emma. If this is what you need to be happy, I won't stand in your way, but please let me see Liam as often as possible." "Of course, John. Liam needs to know that his dad is always there for him." In the weeks that followed, I started getting ready for the move to Moon. Liam and I packed our belongings, deciding what to take with us and what to leave behind. Tom helped us with the planning of the move, and he made time to talk to me every day, offering support and encouragement. One evening, I decided to meet with my friends to share my decision, and we gathered at our favorite cafe. I started to share my feelings and plans, and they listened intently. And then Sarah said, "We will always support you. We're pleased for you if Tom brings you happiness because you deserve it." Their words gave me strength. I realized I wasn't alone in my decision and that I had the support of those close to me. This was incredibly important to me at that moment on the day of the move. I woke up with a sense of a new beginning. Liam and I packed the last of our things and left the house. Jan helped us load the car, and despite the sadness in his eyes, I could see he was hoping for the best as we drove onto the highway. A wave of mixed emotions washed over me. On one hand, I was filled with excitement and anticipation for my new life with Tom. On the other hand, I felt a deep sadness for what I was leaving behind. But I knew I was making the right choice and that new opportunities awaited. We arrived in Chicago and Tage. Evening, Tom was waiting for us at the door of our new home. He helped us with our things and hugged Liam, trying to make his first day in a new place as comfortable as possible. Liam was excited and a bit apprehensive, but Tom quickly found a way to win his trust when Liam fell asleep. It was only Tom and me. While discussing our future plans, we sat on the patio and gazed at the city lights. Tom held my hand and said, "Emma, I know this is a big step for you, and I promise to do everything to make you and me happy here." "Tom, I trust you. I also want this to succeed. I appreciate you being here." I responded with a sigh of relief. We kissed, and that kiss was full of hopes and promises for the future. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but also a lot of joy and happiness. I believed that our new home would be a place where we could build a new life filled with love and harmony. The first few weeks in Chicago were full of new experiences and adjustments. Liam was getting used to the new home school and new friends. Tom made an effort to be not just a new acquaintance, but also a friend to Liam, helping him feel comfortable. In his new surroundings, I saw Liam starting to adapt and even enjoy the new opportunities that had opened up for him. Our relationship with Tom also progressed. We spent a lot of time together walking around the city, visiting museums and parks, and savoring every moment. Tom showed me his favorite spots in Chicago, and I began to see the city through his eyes. He was full of enthusiasm and passion for life, and it inspired me. However, despite all the joys and new experiences I knew there would Be challenges ahead, I understood that our move wouldn't be easy for everyone. John often called and came to visiting Liam. I could see how hard it was for him, and it pained me, but I tried to maintain a good relationship with him, knowing it was important for our son. One evening after Liam had fallen asleep, Tom and I sat on the terrace talking to Emma. I know this is difficult for you too. I want you to know that I'm always here for you and ready to support you in any decision, he said, looking into my eyes. Thank you, Tom. I said, I think we could go over it together, but you know this is a big challenge for me too. Our bond deepened as we sensed his encouragement. We discovered how to communicate our emotions and experiences and to trust one another. I felt that I had not only discovered a lover, but also a trustworthy coworker in Tom, who was always considerate and attentive. Additionally, things were going well. I was able to stay since my employer offered me a remote role. I relished my newfound independence and the chance to spend more time with my family with Liam and Tom, but I also realized that I had to continue to be professional and do my job to the best of my abilities. We had many new experiences during the weekends. We went out of town and just enjoyed life, riding bikes and having picnics. Liam had a great father and partner in Tom, and I could see my son's happiness growing every day. But one evening, John sent me a message that said, "We need to have a serious talk." He wrote, "I think we need to talk about Liam's future and how we will interact going forward." I understood that this discussion was unavoidable. John and I would have to choose the best way to divide up custody of Liam and how our relationship would develop going forward. I was aware that it would be a challenging discussion, but it was essential to set up equitable and transparent guidelines for that night. When I explained Jay's message to Tom, he listened carefully and said, "Emma, I know this will be difficult, but I have faith in you. You are a woman of strength and wisdom, and you can manage this. I'll be here for him no matter what." I felt more confident after hearing his statements. I contacted John the next day and proposed that we get together. In order to have a calm conversation about everything, we decided to meet at a cafe. John was waiting for me in the cafe when I got there. Although he appeared worn out and depressed, I could see resolve in his eyes. We talked about Liam's future at the beginning of the chat. In an effort to give our kid a sense of security and affection, we agreed to split custody. Jen remarked in a sincere tone, "Emma, I know that our paths have separated, and I don't want to get in the way of your happiness, but I hope we can maintain a friendly relationship for Liam's sake." "John, I also want that." With a weight lifted off my shoulders, I said, "I will always respect you and your rights as a father. We must do everything we can to make Liam happy." We spoke for several hours, going over every detail before coming to a mutually agreeable conclusion. When I got home, I was overwhelmed with respect and thankfulness for John's efforts to deal with the problem. Tom gave me a hug and said, "I'm proud of you, Emma," after I told him about our talk. "We can now proceed and create our life together because you accomplished everything correctly." I felt even more optimistic about the future because of his understanding and encouragement. We were aware of the difficulties that lay ahead, but we also believed that we could conquer anything as a team if we had love, trust, and support for one another. We anticipated a brand new phase of our life that would be full of love, optimism, and limitless opportunities. We had been in Chicago for a few months now, and our new life was starting to settle down and get along. After adjusting to his new school, Liam had acquired a lot of friends. He frequently expressed to me his love for our new house and his happiness at having Tom in his life. John and I maintained a cordial and courteous relationship. We communicated frequently, and he frequently paid Liam visits. It made me happy and at ease to see how much Liam loved spending time with his father. Tom and I kept becoming closer. We discovered how to work together as a team, encouraging one another and sharing all the good times and bad. I sensed that our relationship was becoming closer every day. Tom abruptly stated, "Emma, I want you to know," while we were sitting on the patio one evening, taking in the sunset, "that I have never been happier than I have been in the last few months. My life wouldn't be the same without you and Liam." I gazed at him, tears of happiness welling up in my eyes. "I'm feeling really joyful too, Tom. My life is now harmonious and whole because of you." He gave me a hug and said, "I love you." I could feel his arms embracing me. "Emma, I adore you too. I want to be with you for the rest of my life. You gave me a passionate, compassionate kiss. It was like electricity coursing through my body when his lips lightly touched mine. We expressed all of our emotions and future commitments as we sank into that kiss. There was peace, love, and joy in our new existence. We traveled, planned for the future, and relished every second spent together. I was certain that I had made the proper decision and that the future would only bring joy. This is a tale of love and fresh starts, bravery in the face of adversity, and hope for a brighter future. Tom and I were writing a brand new, colorful, and life-filled novel together when I discovered my bliss.